Greetings, Hallowmaniacs. We're going to take you on a journey today in Midland, Michigan at the Antique Festival. Steph, you think we're going to find some Halloween today?
I really hope so.
I hope so. So why don't you come along with us for the journey and let's see what we can find.
All right, so we arrived a little before 8 o'clock, probably about 1:45, and the event technically starts at 8 a.m. and it goes all the way to 6 o'clock on Saturday. So it's a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday, and it's so much fun. If you've never been, this is in Midland, Michigan, and they have a ton of antique dealers. So booth after booth, barns full of things. They also have a classic car show, so you can see some hot rods coming on in for the show later. And this event actually started in 1968 and has been going ever since and only getting bigger and stronger each year. There's lots of bargains to be had. I was looking at here when I first came in, the dollar table, and who doesn't love a dollar table, right? I believe it was the same vendor. You'll see I found a couple really nice antique radios and a clock here. And I love this. I just think sometimes too, there's something about those older radios and the clocks here that looked kind of Halloweenish. And again, it's not made to be for Halloween, but again, I picture always that perfect decor to kind of bring out the Halloween scene that you may be creating. You can see the antique radio here was $35 and the clock was $85. And right along the way, I saw some blow molds and I knew there had to be Halloween in there, and I was correct, because we saw this really big, huge pumpkin blow mold for $25, and then they had a lot of different blow molds, the vacuum blow molds, and here's a big gravestone, and I love the skeleton sitting on the bench there. We'll kind of get into a little bit more of the pricing and all this, but I just love how this looked. It got me excited because this was one of the first vendors that we saw. We've been here years prior, and usually this end corner one will usually have some kind of vintage Halloween or vintage holiday specifically. So looking here, you see the two skeletons with the little dog on there. I think that's adorable. And look at here, I saw our first truly vintage Halloween. I loved it. Looking at that pumpkin pal here, kind of like it how he has like little, I don't know if that's supposed to be slime or a little hairline there, but he is an Empire blow mold pumpkin bucket from 1970. Did not have a price on it, so Joe's going to inquire about it. But then there was also from the 1991, it was, I believe it's Union pumpkin bowl, like a trick-or-treat with the candy, and then here's another little pumpkin for $3. So that one did have a tag on it. That one was more modern, but here you can see that Empire stamp on it as well as the 1970 year. So that was really cool. I think we don't have one of those, but then here was this kind of vacuum blow mold from 1994, R. Marino. So it was a really cool. I've never seen anything like this. You can hang it on the wall and you can see it's like a 3D image of a witch coming out. And I still saw that kind of green on there, a lot of like that black and grays, but I thought those were just awesome. So really good deals. We did talk to the vendor. We did ask some pricing on the pumpkin pals, and they did say that you could have both of them for $15. So wink wink, hint hint. We'll show a recap at the end of this what we did take back, but not bad at all. And you can just see going through here, there's just a little bit of this and that. There's all kinds of antiques. So if you're an antique lover, if you like toys, just tools, there's so much to look at. I was really getting into these lanterns here. I saw this antique lantern for $35, and it was on a whole table of a lot of different lanterns. And you'll notice in our videos too, not only do we go just for like the up front in your face kind of Halloween decorations, but we also like to have different props and things that you could use for a Halloween setting. And I don't know, I was kind of getting some Halloween vibes from these lanterns here. I thought they were really neat. And this show always holds a special place in both Joe and I's heart, because this is actually one of our first dates when we were young little kids. And your Hallowmaniacs were young pumpkins just looking for love. And he actually took me with his family. We went here, and Joe was kind of like, I don't think Stephanie's going to like this. This is a lot of old stuff. Who's going to care about that? And hey, look where we've come. I loved it, and we've been going ever since. And here, you know, you can see we're kind of rummaging through this dollar bin, and I saw a couple different Pez dispensers. I love that one. I don't know if it's like a goblin or what exactly it is, but it is Halloweenish, and I did find, you'll see that neon green. I picked it up. And here is a witch, that classic face witch Pez. I do like to collect Pez here. And I thought I know I had one, but there's a different variation. I think the witch, she has a green face, and this is a different variation. And I was like, hey, I don't have that one. But just going and looking through, you can see here it's just like a toy collector's dream. I mean, if you collected toy trucks, Tonka trucks, you know, things like Hot Wheels, there was pretty much a table for everything. So, and this is all just on the outside. We haven't even gone through the barns yet. So there's a pavilion, which has a lot of glassware, a lot of antique toys, and yeah, we're going to show you everything in this video today. But look at all this glass. I loved it. And coming upon this table, I saw some really cool stained glass figures here. Inquiring with the vendor, she said that they were homemade, probably most likely in the 90s, but I thought they were so cool. $5 each for them, and you could hang them up here, and just the witch is what really drew me in. I love the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern, but I love this. I mean, how cool is that? I think it would just look great as a sun catcher and just having it up there. But I found these while Joe was taking some stuff back to the car, and that's a good mention to make, is if you come to an event like this, you'll see a lot of people coming around with different wagons, carts, so feel free to bring those if you haven't been to this event before and you're interested, and you're kind of like me where, hey, sometimes you want to make things convenient, you don't want to be making multiple trips on that, or if you don't have a cart, bring some tote bags, things that just make it easier for you to carry different things. Look at these pumpkin earrings. Aren't they adorable? I mean, I was just finding a ton of stuff. And then I love this Frankenstein pail here. It had really thick plastic on it. I think it was made in 1999. And I love Frankenstein. I think he's just one of the most classic monsters that there are.
Oh, yeah. Good.
All right, guys, so just if you ever do attend this event, there are a lot of food trucks. So if you do get hungry, just know, and this is only a few of them, they're kind of scattered throughout the whole event. But if you are hungry, there are lots of different options that you can choose from. One of the very first decorations that got me into vintage holiday collecting, specifically Halloween, was this pumpkin melted popcorn decoration. This one right here was really big. It was almost like double the size of the one that you typically see in the one that I started collecting, but there was a huge box right here, $20 each for any of the melted popcorn decorations. And I like to collect, this is one thing that I do like to collect even outside of Halloween, are just different melted popcorn decorations that you'll find with all different holidays. And I was loving this. I have quite a few of them. One day I'll have to show you my melted popcorn decoration. I did do one video already with just the Halloween ones, but here are some of just all the different holidays. And I was looking through the box here, hoping to see if I could find maybe a Halloween one here laying. There's one that I'm really looking for, in search of, is a Frankenstein. And I have not found that one. That is super rare, but always on the hunt for it. And here I saw this, it was for $6, a little pumpkins kind of stacked up on each other, a little yard sign. I think it has lights wrapping around it, but a little faded, but still I liked it. $6. You probably could even repaint it, or maybe even paint over it and make it your own design if you're crafty. Oh, look at Santa. He's trying to see if you've been naughty or nice. But I love the different vintage Santas. Here, a blow mold for $55. And I think we can all agree that blow molds are definitely something that has made a huge comeback in the last 5 to 10 years.
Too much shopping.
Too much shopping.
Spent every last dollar.
Now he's exhausted. Here was a miscellaneous Halloween find. It was a thicker pumpkin pail, and I love the coloring on it. And it was made of really good quality, because you can always tell, again, if it's got that thicker plastic, and that one did. And only for $4. But I did find some really cool blow molds. Again, not Halloween blow molds here, but still nonetheless, I love just looking at all these blow molds here. They have some really cool metal art. I love this praying mantis one that you're going to see here coming up. Vendors, previous shows, they had different aliens and just all different kinds of ones. So we'll definitely check those out here too in this video. All right, guys. So as you go in, you do a lot of that whole section of outdoor vendors. There's a ton of barns, like you'll see here to my side. I think about 3-4 barns now, I think. I think they opened up another one this year. And then you have this other outdoor section, as well as a car section to go through.
There's a lot to see.
There's a lot. You'll be here for hours.
Yes, absolutely. Easily half a day.
Next, we found some noisemakers, and here I know technically some people may say this is not Halloween, but I have seen them listed as Halloween. It's kind of clowns with devil horns. At least I think they're devil horns. Maybe they're little tiny hats, but either way, clowns can be freaky to some people. So maybe it is Halloween-ish, but they're both priced at $20 each. Ironically, we saw one at an antique stop that we did afterwards, and we were looking around and we saw that same one for, I think it was like $10. So I think that's appropriate, though. You'll see, I think $10 was actually really cheap, because it's hard to find noisemakers at a decent price. I mean, a lot of them, especially the Halloween ones, you can even pay close to $100 for them. Another little helpful tidbit, so if you go to these or just even flea markets by you and it's a large one like this, always wear comfortable shoes. I was glad I did, because I think we did on average like about almost 5 miles of walking during this. Here we saw, this is so cool, it's a vintage, I believe from the 1980s Telco motionette. Then you have the pumpkin pail here. They wanted $15 for the pumpkin pail. And then they had some other cool different Halloween vintage decorations. Here was another motionette that I didn't want to take it out of there, but I believe it was a witch holding the pumpkin. And those are really cool. They can really brighten up your Halloween decorations, having some of the motionettes. And then here was, looked like some kind of maybe die cut. Had some signs there. And I love sometimes too, like these little vintage 1980s and 90s snack bowls and molds and things like that. So I've collected a couple of those over the years. You can sometimes be lucky enough to find them, which I have at thrift stores, you know, for $1, maybe $2. But yeah, they're great. I think they just make the kitchen or wherever you want to put them, you know, they can just brighten it up. They have those bright colors. That's a classic 1980s and 90s Halloween look. Here I was looking at the sign here, Devil's Way, I think it was, or Devil's Avenue, but yeah, they had all kinds of things at this vendor. I like that little witchy pumpkin over there, and was really liking those motionettes that they had. Here, you know, I found, I don't know why I spent so much time looking at this. Maybe I thought it was a vintage box of cereal, but turning over, always look at the expiration date. It was from 2023.
We found so far a lot of cool vintage Halloween, some modern Halloween, but now it's time that we're going to go into the barns. So the barns, there's I think about 4 of them this year. And I think last year and the year before, I remember the 3, and they also have a pavilion too, but we're going to do a couple of those inside ones because sometimes those will have more of like the vintage rare stuff that you can find. So
Are they haunted barns?
well, I don't know, but maybe the deals will be hopefully not scary. Hopefully they'll be good. So let's go check it out.
Yeah, so this one was actually new this year. So it had a ton of different crafts and homemade items. Because again, this is an antique festival flea market, but there's also a ton of crafts. There's a lot of different homemade items that you can find. I loved all this just looking through. I saw a lot of homemade goodies too. You'll see somebody had kind of their own candy that they've made here. They had plants that you could buy, a lot of different woodwork. There was just honestly so much to look at. So definitely plan for half a day if you're going to do this at least. There is so much to see and do.
Hey Joe, you want to quit being a crab? I like this. For you Masters of the Universe fans, check out my goodness, Chocolate Moonshine Company. Dangerous. Got all those goodies. Now look at a happy purchase has been made. That is a huge Santa blow mold. Love it.
Here was a find that I definitely thought fit being so much to like a T. A cat and its staff live here. Yeah, that's definitely our Binksy. She rules the house. But I saw here was one of the aliens, so I did find him. I saw him at other shows, and I love this. I just love him. But we have a major orange alert coming up here, so let's get into that.
Okay, so Joe just told me, he goes, Stephanie, we have an orange alert. Let's go check it out. Let's see, 10 for that one here, 5 for this one, 5 for the purple. Little skulls are both $5 each. And then up top, look at this pumpkin. Isn't he cool? $10. He's cute. But let's look at also Elvira.
So are any of you big fans of collecting anything Elvira? Actually saw, Joe and I, we went to a comic book shop last year and we found a really cool action figure that was, I believe it was made by NECA, but that was a cool find. I love the NECA action figures, but that's a whole nother video. Here we saw a great thing. I have been on the hunt for this little parachute. I believe it was from the 90s or maybe the late 80s, but only $5, and I love that with the little face with the little Batman. That was a super adorable. And then you saw these really cool vintage witch candles, so I like those. They're in good condition too. Here's another little parachute buddy. I love those. I mean, I got so hooked on those recently, especially the vintage Halloween kind. But this vendor had a lot of cool, I think those were Halloween dollies here. They have some stickers, so many different things Halloween related to look at. Because I do see, you know, a lot of times vendors that are selling Halloween, they'll even mention that they go through it fast. But look at right here now. I wanted to capture this because you can see just how windy of a day it was. It was a little bit of a blustery day and kind of cooler day in Michigan, but I will say I'm sorry if you do hear some wind noise in certain parts of the video, but couldn't help it. It was just so windy. But look at here. The Grinch stole Halloween now. He didn't just steal Christmas, but he stole Halloween too. I love those metal art right here. The little ghost with the candy in the bucket. This vendor had a lot of cool things. Different than the one that we've seen with the alien, the praying mantis. There was multiple vendors, so that was something to look out for. If you like metal art, definitely hit up all three. I think it was 3 or 4 at least different stands. But here's a little cat, reminded us of Binks, standing on the pumpkin with the welcome sign. And oh, the cars were still coming in. This was hours into the event, but there was just constant different hot rod cars coming in and out. Look at that, the Day of the Dead here, the skeleton figure. But it was time to go into the pavilion. So the pavilion has a lot of the higher end, I'll say, going in. Look at these paperweights. I love glass paperweights. I actually collect them on the side as well, but these were like super fancy. I mean, just all the intricate art in it and colors. I mean, it was something that caught my eye. I think the smallest one was like $65, so they definitely hold their value. But every year we look forward to coming into this booth. Right here you'll see it's a collector that has a lot of vintage toys. I mean, anything that you can imagine if you have a hobby for us. Not only holiday stuff, it's got monsters, it has, you know, Barbies, just any kind of toy that you may collect if you're into vintage toys. And he keeps them all in pristine collection and condition. So here you could see in a second we'll show he did have some Halloween items, and I was surprised to see it. But look at that, it's kind of a cowbell. He said he'd never seen another one like it. I think it was priced at $400, maybe $95, and it was close to $500, but just shy. And then also have a sparker. So here we have it on one of our old videos. I have a Frankenstein one. This is kind of the equivalent of it, the little pumpkin. And then you have a couple other figures, and it was some really cool kickbacks to the old vintage Halloween. Of course, they come with a hefty price tag, but they were definitely great to look at, even if you can't buy it all, because let's face it, I know I would go bankrupt if I did, but this was just awesome just to even see and just kind of go into like a little museum. And he had it stacked and kind of all put out on the shelves and displayed so nicely. So he did a great job. And here you can see all those vintage records. I love those vinyl records. He had puzzles. I think he said the cheapest that his records start at is usually $50 and even go up to $250, somewhere around there. So yeah, you definitely would need some dough if you're going to this booth, but I mean, he has a lot of rare items, not things that you can just find easily. So these were really cool. I think he told me they were maybe either 1950s or 60s, but these little, you can see the witch, and then you can see the devil here. I want to say the witch was maybe around 120, but I know the devil figure was about 150. And then just look at all these kind of cool robot figures, and I like the robots. I think those are pretty neat to see. And then here we kind of found a little box here with all kinds of different monsters and the magazines and comics and Vampirella. I love the Wolfman one that we just seen. Here was Revenge of Dracula. Again, $95 for that one right there. The Wolfman I think was $65. But on the way out of the booth, we noticed this Casper the Friendly Ghost game. And I thought this was great. I mean, it was in pristine condition, and that's what a lot of the items here, they're all in pristine and great condition. You know, you could tell definitely that the owner or the vendor takes great pride in the items that they sell. Alfred Hitchcock. Something about those movies. Do you guys have a favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie? I like The Birds, and nothing beats the most classic Psycho. I mean, there's so many. He is the king of horror movies. But kind of going through, it was time to start going and looking at the vintage barns here. So here there was 3 kind of side by side, and you'll just see that there's tons of vendors all mixed in. I found these books to be interesting because they reminded me somewhat of the Goosebumps books, if you remember, by R.L. Stine. Here, American Chillers, Michigan Chillers, and I'm really not that familiar with them, so I want to kind of look into it, because growing up in that time frame, you would think that I would remember it, especially Michigan, but I don't. So Joe didn't either, really, but it kind of had that goosebump feel. I love this little Raggedy Ann. Look at that little dress on her, so sweet. I think she was priced at $30. And then there was just kind of little remnants of Halloween scattered. If you're a Snoopy lover, this was really adorable. And I think there was a little bank, Halloween bank, right next to it with Snoopy laying on top. So there was a lot of cute different things. Even things that are maybe not outright Halloween, but look at this alien. I mean, that looks Halloween to me. I could make it into a Halloween display. I know I could. So, and Ghostbusters. Who doesn't love that? The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, $25. And of course, the King of Pop, Mr. Thriller, Michael Jackson. So this was neat. I've never seen an action figure kind of like that of him. They wanted $25, but I thought that was really cool. I still remember to this day and love the Thriller music video. I think that is such a classic. Nothing beats that music video ever. And then here you have a lot of different kind of yard cutouts that look like they're hand painted. This witch one was really adorable. I liked it. She's kind of stirring the pot there with the little Halloween cat. And here I fell in love with this hand crocheted item. It was kind of reminded me at first. I thought, okay, is it a center for your table? Is it, you know, the way it was placed, I'm like, is that a tablecloth? I had to kind of look at it, and it was actually made, and you'll see it's a sunflower. So we'll show you that later. Hint, hint, that may have come home. Hint without giving it away. Spoiler alert, but definitely you'll see it, and I'll put it out. It's beautiful. But here we saw a ton of different Disney pins. So if you're a Disney pin collector, this vendor has some really nice high-end rare Disney pins that you don't see otherwise. Here was one that I saw from Mickey's Halloween Party, and for those of you, if you ever go to Disney World or Disneyland, they have a Halloween party, and this is such a super fun event to go to. It can be a little bit pricey, but you know, again, what isn't nowadays? But it's such a fun time. You really should. You can dress up, you can go trick-or-treating, and it's fun to actually have a place that you can go trick-or-treating as an adult. So yeah, definitely worth it. They do have their own Halloween pin set, so at the event, you know, you can get different specialized pins for that event. Here we saw a couple of those different, remember those solar shakers? You put them out in the sun and they kind of move or wig-wag back and forth. This vendor had that pumpkin boy you saw. Here's a scarecrow one. It got a lot of different ones here, a witch. I think there's a Frankenstein coming up, and they're priced at $3 each, so not a bad price at all. They had a kind of not only Halloween related, but they had a lot of different holidays, different characters as well. Here I found a couple different blow molds with Joe. We were excited because we weren't seeing up until this point too many blow molds. We saw a few, but usually this event, the flea market, especially the one in the fall, so they do this multiple times per year, you'll see a lot of different blow molds. Here, they were both priced at $45, which I think is pretty reasonable. That is a classic. I love that. The big jack-o'-lantern right here, the happy little face. It was a pretty relatively good condition. And then here's a familiar one. So when Joe went to Davisburg, I think this was the same vendor. It kind of, at least it looked like in the video, a lot of the same blow molds. And this one right here, 120, was a kind of a skeleton Grim Reaper. You know, I can remember when everybody was trying to get rid of their blow molds. They were actually selling them at garage sales, and now you can see that they've made such a great comeback. People, especially, seem to treasure the vintage Halloween ones. I love that witch there. She's kind of like the little grumpy evil witch, and then you have the little creature kind of hiding out from the tombstone. I think $115 for that one. But then this was the most priciest one that we found at the booth. $265, I believe that was. But it's one of those big haunted houses, and I love, they have a small green one that's vintage, and I think a different, maybe an orange one just like that, that came out probably, I think, back in the 1960s or 70s. That would be a great one. I'm always on the lookout for it. And then you have a lot of these vintage window decorations. So I love these. I feel like sometimes too, I know they're, again, something that has become more popular, but I feel like they just never ever are as good enough as the vintage ones, right? Here was a really nice Casper the Friendly Ghost figure, rubber toy that was from the 1970s. I love Casper the Friendly Ghost. I still always think of the 90s movie that came out with Christina Ricci and was it Devon Sawa? I love that movie. And for any of you that like Annabelle, the true Annabelle doll, not the Hollywood remake, here was a ton of, and I think the most.
All right, Joe.
Kind of
So we found some
Andy
goodies
I've ever seen.
We have.
What do you feel like? I think there's still some more that we have to go through and maybe even check out. They have a little bit of a card show here.
Yeah.
Actually, I shouldn't say a little bit. It's actually a lot of it.
Big card show.
Yes. So we might check that out. And I think there's some more vendors down that way. A lot of
check
tools.
it out, but so far so good. It's very exhausting though. This is an actual kind of a long venture out here to walk through everything and see everything, which there's tons of stuff. But some really good deals, I think, so far. So
yeah, I think we got here, it was like before 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I think right now it's close to 11.
Yeah, 3 hours strong and at it still.
Yep. So we're going to check out the car show a little bit there, maybe grab a bite to eat, and then kind of wrap it up and see what else we can find.
Sounds good to me.
Do stay tuned to the end of the video because we will go ahead and show a recap of what we did get.
Complete reveal.
That's right. All right, let's go.
Majestic crystals.
Yeah, Joe was having way too much fun with the crystals there. But we went and we kept moseying along. There was a whole nother back strip kind of leading right to the vintage car show. And we saw a little bit of holiday stuff here. So we're like, oh, you know, maybe there will be some Halloween. And there was a tiny bit. I saw a little pumpkin right here. It was kind of like one of those more modern melted popcorn plastic and pumpkins. You can see when I picked it up here, it was sitting on a base. So probably like a little light base. And yeah, there's another little tiny pumpkin back there and kind of little remnants of Halloween and that autumn right there with some pumpkin candle holders. And yeah, I liked it. So nothing that we were going to take home from the booth, but great to look at and wanted to show you. So any of you that are car lovers, just and maybe not familiar with this event, kind of do a little walkthrough right here. But there was so many. I didn't even touch like the whole perimeter of the cars, the amount of cars that were there. There were a ton of them, but if you are a classic car lover, definitely go to both Midland and or Davisburg, Michigan. They do this event in each city 2 times a year, so 4 times total throughout Michigan, 2 at each location. Definitely check it out here because there's a lot of different cars. And hey, you could even win a Corvette. So for $20, they were selling 5,000 tickets, and you can have a chance at winning yourself to take home this nice little Corvette. And what a cool car that would be. For $20, you get a Corvette. But I did the math. I think it was the retail at a value of $76,000 the car was valued at. So not a bad deal. If you sold 5,000 tickets at $20, you'll be making over $100,000 profit. So yeah, they were smart thinking on that, given that they get 5,000 people to buy a $20 ticket. But on the way out, we saw some cool things here with the cement art, but I want to show you again what we took home. So let's look at the recap. All right, guys, we are back home. What a fun time we had at Midland.
Always a great antique festival. They do it twice a year. This was their spring one. Can't wait for the fall one as well. But man, we definitely found some Halloween, that's for sure.
Yeah, and definitely some great fall things. So this was kind of like a fall Halloween accent, I like to say, with decorating. You get your theme ready. I think this is going to look great we have a curio cabinet that we can kind of put this on top of and have something propped up there. And it is a vintage crocheted item here. And I just loved it because it resembles a sunflower. So it's got all
the fall colors too.
So I love this. We were definitely going to put good use to it, but yeah, it's just beautiful. I love it. So very happy with that purchase. All right, so this next find I was really excited for. It's 2 different homemade stained glass figures. One a witch on her broom here, and the other one a pumpkin figure. Probably something made around in the 90s, I'm guessing. But still is a great item. I love it. It was all homemade. I had to take a lot of effort to make that. And I did notice going home, the witch here, she's a little bit weak on the top part with her hands and her broom where, you know, probably where the metal's connecting is getting a little weak. So I'll have to be very careful with her, but maybe also see if I can kind of get some glue or something to kind of hold it together, some kind of adhesive. But yeah, I love these. These are great. This will look great hanging up somewhere and have where the sun can get and just make it really shine bright. So happy to have these. All right, so this was a cool little dollar find out of the dollar box. I love it. It's one of those vintage designs of the Pez containers. I saw it and I wasn't sure. I had to look back at my old ones because I know I do have a witch like this, but I don't think I have it with this bright green body on it. I know that sometimes Pez can make different variations of items and they'll have different kind of, I want to call it a stem, but the, you know, platform is home. Yeah, the base.
Yeah.
They'll have different designs and there'll be like a little bit of kind of variations between models. So I'm not sure, but I loved it. I thought it popped out. It looked great. So yeah, this is one of those classic designs you just got to have.
And we've got good old Frank in the house. Good old Frankenstein from 1999. He's a candy bucket. He does have a strap on the inside that'll be reattached, but kind of cool. You know, kind of cool vintage look to him. One of the classic Universal monsters, and we thought he'd be a good ad for some Halloween decor this year.
Who doesn't love Frankie, right? I think we only paid, it was $8.
Yeah.
So not bad price at all. So everything that we got today, we probably paid everything for under maybe $80.
Yeah, not bad at all for this whole haul that we took home.
Okay, so this little parachute fella, he has been on my radar for a while. I think I first saw him in Laura and Janine's video out of Shiny Bright Doggo. So one of our favorite YouTube channels that we love to watch. And they had some of the parachutes. They got me hooked on them. And I love the vintage holiday ones, but especially the Halloween ones. And this one right here, probably from the 80s or 90s. Don't know the exact year, but it's so cute. Look at that little face with like a little Batman mask and had the little striped legs and the witch hat. So yeah, this was only $5. I could not believe it.
It's a great price.
Yeah, we got a really good price on it. So, yeah, I saw the $5 tag and go, "Oh, Joe, can we get it?" And he's like,
"Scoop them up.
Let's take them." So, super, super happy to have this. All right, so Joe and I actually were doing a tally, and we figured, kind of said, hey, we made a mistake because Joe got some cool sports stuff, too, for his collection. And I think this whole haul actually only probably cost $60, $65, so not $80. So this is even better. Yep. See, Joe, I'm a smart shopper.
I feel even better about it now.
But this next purchase it's a candy bucket, but it's a really super thick plastic. It's great. Great
quality.
Yeah, it is. And it's got a cute little face here. I love it. So yeah, we got it for $4.
Can't beat that.
Not bad at all.
Awesome
so this was
price.
a great find. And this will look great on a cabinet with some other blow molds.
So this is a really cool candy bucket from Union. I believe it's 1991. Super thick plastic. And man, just that orange radiates, really pops. Really good coloring on this guy.
Yeah, it's thick plastic. It's, vintage from, the early 90s. And I love that jack-o'-lantern face. And it's big in size.
Yeah, it's a pretty big guy as well. So,
and it probably, I think we got, this item and the next item that we're going to show you, and the next one's the last one. Was $15, right, for the two of them?
Yeah, for both, which I thought was a great price.
This is a great deal. All right, so the last find of the day came also with the 1991 bucket. This is a 1970 Empire bucket. So I always can tell, again, see how it's got that thicker strap. It's of thicker plastic quality than the ones that you find today. Sometimes you'll notice they'll have like diamond-shaped eyes, or they have more than the classic jack-o'-lantern face.
Some
and this
variations,
one, yeah. This one's got, I don't know if that's supposed to be like a little hair or...
little hairline going on there.
Yeah, so really cool find. I love finding something for, you equate it to $750 or whatnot for something from 1970, so...
It's a long time already, man. Over 50 years old already, when you think of it.
Yep, and he has found a good home with us, right?
Absolutely.
So super happy with these finds. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you live in the Michigan area, definitely check out the Michigan Antique Festival in Midland. They also do another one in Davisburg, which we do have a video on that Joe was able to go to earlier this year. So check that out. And again, it's not just something for holidays. They have car show there. They have all kinds of antique toys, collectibles. so much to look at.
Drop us a comment. Let us know what your favorite find was. Did we do good?
And remember,
Stay spooky. Trick or treat.